Unbox your phone. Samsung Galaxy S8 and S8 Plus.
The great taste of Blue Band is now packed with 6 vitamins and omega-3 and 6 for growing kids, making it more nutritious, delicious, and easier to spread.
You can tell they're from a Blue Band home.
Give your kids the taste they love and the good start they need.
This is KTN News.
A very, very good evening to you. Thank you very much for joining us here on KTN Weekend Prime. My name is Akisa Wandera. Sign language interpreter is Meresha Owiti. We have a lot lined up for you, but we majorly focus on the party primaries in Mombasa County, the ODM party primaries. Our reporter Murimi Mwangi is in Kwale County. He will be bringing us updates, the latest on the tallying process that has already begun in Kwale County. But of course, Timothy Otieno today has been following up on the latest updates from the Jubilee Party headquarters. They will be repeating their primaries next week, and Timothy will be giving us updates on what exactly the Jubilee Secretariat and the National Elections Board has said about the process that is set to begin on Monday. Murimi Mwangi will also be telling us about the tallying process in Kwale County. Earlier on, he mentioned that 2 constituencies did not take to the ballot. He will be giving us the reasons as well as telling us the latest from that county. Let's first take a look at the highlights.
We are going to continue with the primaries on 24th, 25th and 26th.
Back to the primaries. Jubilee now sets Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday for nominations repeat countrywide.
We unreservedly apologize for the underpreparedness, for the magnitude and scale of the nomination exercise.
I am sorry, my people. You were too many for us, President Uhuru says after Jubilee confusion. ODM nominations in 5 coastal counties take place despite some hitches.
There are times you are harassed, there are times you are insulted.
And challenges of being a woman candidate in Nairobi's cutthroat politics. All right, with our focus being on the party primaries, both ODM and Jubilee, we now ask you on our Saturday night poll, do you believe Uhuru's assertion that the only problem for Jubilee was the overwhelming number of voters? Do you believe Uhuru's assertion that the only problem for Jubilee was the overwhelming number of voters? This, of course, comes from that press briefing the president gave earlier on in the day, apologizing to the supporters and saying they were overwhelmed by the number of voters who turned out and they had underprepared for it. So we will be taking a look at a number of your views on Twitter, and I will be sampling a number of them just before the end of the program. All right, the Jubilee Party has finally announced a new date for the repeat nominations exercise after yesterday's fiasco. KTN News reporter Timothy Otieno has been following this story throughout the day. Timothy, good evening. How does Jubilee intend to do it next week?
Well, basically, Akisa, Jubilee is now taking 3 days from next week, beginning Monday all the way to Wednesday, to conduct fresh party nominations. The exercise begins on the 24th of April, which will be on Monday, where 6 counties will begin that new exercise to try and get flag bearers for the Jubilee Party across many of the political seats. On Tuesday, 28 counties and members of 28 counties will be going to the polls to elect their nominees. And finally, on Wednesday, 11 counties will be going to the ballot to decide who will carry the flag of the Jubilee Party come August the 8th. This is what Raphael Tuju, the Secretary General of the Jubilee Party, had to say in regards to which counties were going to the polls on which particular dates. Have a listen.
I can read the timetable. It's very long, so the best thing, I think, is just to mention the highlights, and then we'd ask you to go onto our website because it's been posted there. And if any of you require a copy of the press release, then you should be able to get one. We are going to continue with the primaries on 24th, 25th, and 26th. We have divided it just to reduce the pressure on our logisticians who have asked for more time to be able to do this. So Nairobi is definitely taking place on Monday. Baringo, Elgeyo Marakwet, Kirinyaga, Bomet, and Nandi. Mentioning those in total so that those who are preparing themselves for Monday can continue to make those preparations. The others are slated for Tuesday and Wednesday. And I would like to also add that because our people in charge of logistics are still working on this, in the unlikely event that they tell us anything that, there's any kind of hitch, like let's say some ballot papers, they have counted them and they are not enough, we don't want to make the same mistake twice. So if they tell us, sorry, we're not ready for this place, we will give the update to all our aspirants through the media, and we'll give the update to our officials both through the media and directly through the forms of communication that we have directly with them. If I can say Tuesday, we have Lamu, Wajir, Mandera, Marsabit, Turkana, Samburu, Kilifi, Tana River, Mombasa, Kitui, Machakos, Makueni, Kakamega, Vihiga, Bungoma, Busia, Homa Bay, Migori, Kwale, Garissa, Nyamira, Isiolo, Kisii, Kajiado, Kericho, Murang'a, Kiambu, and Uasin Gishu. Then most of the earlier planned nominations, which were already slated for that day, we've kept them there, but we've added a few more of the repeats. Now on Wednesday, we have Nyeri, Laikipia, Embu, Taita Taveta, Nyandarua, Narok, Nakuru, Meru, Tharaka Nithi, West Pokot, and Trans Nzoia.
Well, apart from the new dates, the Secretary General, I beg your pardon, did say that, of course, new ballot papers will be printed. Now, he did not indulge the materials that will be used, whether these new ballots will either have new colors or new codes attached to them, of course saying that he wanted to protect the integrity of the process and keep that as a surprise until when the exercise begins. He also added that nobody was fired following yesterday's failure of the exercise to go smoothly across most of the counties, but indeed say that in some counties there will be redeployment of staff. He did not mention which counties, but say that there would be redeployment in some specific counties. He also added that the party would stick to its rule of using the party register to conduct its polls, except when there may be issues, then they would rely on the IEBC register as a backup. But earlier on in the day, the party leader, the head of state himself from State House, came out publicly to the nation to apologize for a process that many say was doomed to fail from the beginning, considering the number of reactions that we had gotten from most of the counties. Of course, he said that he apologized and urged that his party members and party supporters remain calm and not lose faith in the Jubilee Party. He promised that the elections this time round would be free, fair, and credible. Let's have a listen to what Uhuru Kenyatta said.
While the party, and that is our Jubilee Party, was prepared for a normal party primary, we were confronted instead by a full-scale general election in terms of the sheer massive turnout that we all witnessed. We take this opportunity to say that to the millions of party faithful who turned out to vote, and to the thousands of party aspirants who turned out to compete for our party's ticket, we unreservedly apologize for the underpreparedness, for the magnitude and scale of the nomination exercise. As I have repeatedly said, the Jubilee Party is committed to free, fair, transparent, and credible nominations, which, as we have repeatedly stated, must reflect the will of the people. Because of this commitment, we also took another unprecedented and very difficult decision to cancel the entire nominations exercise, because doing anything to the contrary may have resulted in a subversion of the democratic will of the people. It is not that we were unprepared. We were underprepared. We were underprepared for the sheer scale of turnout that was witnessed, and therefore we did not have adequate material. We are not interested in what the opposition is doing. Let them run their affairs. We are running our affairs. We are just appealing to our people. Be patient. Allow us to prepare ourselves so that you can have your say in terms in terms of who shall represent you as a Jubilee candidate.
Well, indeed, that's the president there apologizing just 2 days after he had exuded confidence that the process would go well. After that, the deputy president did head to the Jubilee Party headquarters, and has held meetings with the party leadership up to about 6 p.m. this evening, just to show how serious they're taking this next round of voting. It's also important to note that the party secretariat, led by, of course, Raphael Tuju, did have a meeting exclusively with the IEBC this afternoon, perhaps in regards to extension of that deadline. Remember, on Wednesday midnight is the deadline for the submission of the list of nominees. We are aware that the Jubilee Party will be holding nominations for 11 counties on that Wednesday. Will that time be enough to submit that list? Perhaps that was one of the subjects that they were discussing with the IEBC of a possible extension. We'll have to wait and see. But the party nominations kickstart afresh, beginning here in Nairobi, 6 counties on the 24th of April, as we wait to see how it will pan out in regards to this particular exercise. Akisa.
Thank you very much for that update. Timothy Otieno there joining us from our City Centre studios. And as he says, all eyes will be on the Jubilee Party on Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday next week to see whether they will get it right this time round. Well, from Matters Jubilee, let's now take a look at the ODM primaries that have been ongoing at the coast. Our reporter Murimi Mwangi now joins us from Kwale County with an update. A very good evening to you, Murimi. Any signs of results streaming in yet?
Well, good evening, Akisa. This is Kwale High School, the tallying center for the results from across Kwale County. And clearly looking behind me and within the tallying center, nothing much happening here, because we understand that tallying is ongoing at the polling stations across the 6 constituencies, 102 polling stations across Kwale county. And up until now, results from only 7 polling stations have been dispatched here. And of course, earlier I spoke to the officials overseeing the exercise here, and they said that they had dispatched transport to polling stations across the county to allow the transportation of hard copy summary of the results here. But besides that, there is going to be transmission of results here via the phone from returning officers across the 4 constituencies in the county. But of course, earlier in the day, there was a reaction by a group of aspirants from here in Kwale County complaining about the cancellation of results from or cancellation of the voting exercise from 7 polling stations over a mix-up of the voters register, a move which they say would impact on the total tally even for candidates contesting the gubernatorial seat and the senatorial seat. And they want any results that are declared here today treated as interim until repeat primaries are conducted in the 7 polling stations. Let's hear what they had to say earlier today.
Do you have the register? I have some register. Because what order? No, we were here from 8 o'clock in the morning. There was no register. Where is the register? But to get register. Can we do this? If you're not an official, not an agent, can you get out, please? We want some orders here. If you're an agent, just can you get out? Can you just keep moving? Moving. I want to order now. Kindly. Can you get out? Angalia vitu picha hizi. Hii hata binadamu anaweza angalia hivi. Kuna pressure sana. Eh? Angalia hizi vitu.
We don't have our register. My name is not here. These people cannot vote. Where is ours? You keep on telling us that it's going to be Boss.
All right, apologies. That is the wrong clip for Kwale County. That was in Nyali constituency. We will be getting back to that earlier. Let's just take a look at what happened in Kwale earlier on.
Generally, I think the nominations across the county have gone on well, though several challenges were faced, especially late opening of polling stations and the late arrival of polling materials, ballot papers and the ballot boxes. But by and large, I think in Kinango, Matuga and parts of Lungalunga constituency, the process of nomination has gone relatively well, with very little violence being reported in most of the polling stations. However, there's been a lot of problem in Msambweni constituency, where out of the 20 polling stations for Msambweni constituency, about 14, the elections did not go well. In 7 out of the 14, the polling stations were closed immediately after the polling started. And in the rest, although polling went on up to close at 5, majority of the voters were turned away. In the polling stations which were closed, the main reasons is because the polling officers, the agents, and also the voters did not agree on the register to be used. In some polling stations, the voters were demanding the use of IEBC register, while in others, they were demanding the use of ODM register. So we urge the party to do a repeat in Msambweni constituency, and particularly in these polling stations, which I have mentioned earlier.
Well, besides that reaction, there were dramatic scenes in 2 of the 7 polling stations where, as I mentioned earlier, there was a cancellation of the exercise, and in particular at Mwakigwena Primary School in Msambweni constituency, there was consensus among the agents of the various aspirants in that constituency to set ablaze all the 13 votes that had been cast, largely due to the fact that a majority of the would-be participants of the exercise in that polling stations did not participate in the exercise because their names were missing in the register. Again, a similar incident was repeated in Mwamwambi Primary School, where apparently a majority of the members of the ODM party did not participate in the exercise, again because their names were missing on the register, and there was consensus that there would be no declaration of results, because I understand as at the time when that decision was reached, only about 10 persons had cast their ballots, and therefore there is insistence by the aspirants who participated in the exercise that any results that shall be declared here should be treated as interim until the County Elections Board gives alternative days when there can be repeat primaries across the polling stations that were affected by that confusion over the voters' register. Akisa.
For that update, our reporter Murimi Mwangi joining us from Kwale County. Of course, he will be keeping vigil as the tallying of votes continues in various stations there in Kwale County. Well, from Kwale, let's now go to Mombasa, where many have said that the exercise has gone surprisingly peacefully despite hitches in a number of polling stations. Let's now touch base with our political affairs editor, Ben Kitile, in Mombasa County. Very good evening to you, Ben. I believe you are at the tallying center in Mombasa. Murimi Mwangi is reporting of very slow activities at the tallying centers. Is the situation any different in Mombasa?
Indeed. Good evening, Akisa. We are coming to you live from the showground here in Mombasa in Mkomani. This is the tallying center for Nyali constituency, and like has been happening in many parts of the 5 counties of the coast that had their ODM nominations today, the tallying process has been painfully slow, and this is no different. And it is a very poorly lit exercise. I'm not sure you can even see me, but behind me, you can see some people milling around that particular shade over there. This was the ASK polling station. What they are doing right now, they are tallying the votes for this particular polling station. That is, I have spoken to some officials a few minutes ago, and that is what they are doing. They're saying they'll be done in the next 30 minutes or so. After that, there will be now tallying all the votes for all the constituencies, for all the polling stations here in Nyali constituency. Remember, this has been one of the most contested, hotly contested constituencies in terms of the ODM nominations, the parliamentary seat here. It was a 3-horse race between Mohammed Ali, Said Abdalla Salim and Edward Makosere. That is the Nyali constituency ticket for the ODM party. And this is one of the busiest in terms of the tallying process. We've been able to visit a few of them. The county tallying center doesn't have much activity. That is at the Mbaraki. We shall be trying to go there and find out what's happening in terms of the senatorial race for the ODM ticket, as well as the woman representative. But here, this is a copy of what is ongoing in many constituencies here in Mombasa. Not much is happening. I have tried to work my sources. We don't have any results of any sort as yet, Akisa. What we have in many constituencies here in Changamwe, in Likoni, as well as Mvita, is a tallying of the different polling stations, because like we have been reporting all day, the voting process was delayed in many polling stations here in Mombasa. So it would go without saying that the tallying process would also be delayed. So that is what's happening behind me. Very keen. A lot of people have milled around here to just try and make sure that they know the results of this particular polling station, as well as the Nyali constituency as a whole. This process will take some time because it is a very poorly lit exercise. They are using flashlights to try and count those votes. So it is a very slow process, a lot of eyes on it. It is seemingly going very well. The people who are here to witness is very calm, as you would expect, but they are waiting for that. So after they tally for this polling station, that is the showground polling station, they will tally for all the polling stations here in Nyali constituency. And by that time, that is when we expect, according to the ODM election officials, to be getting also the results for the other constituencies for all the elective positions that the ODM nominations were held for. The voting process was not without drama, as we have been reporting live all day long here on KTN News. We did see a lot of activity here in Nyali constituency. There was an altercation earlier in the day where Mohammed Ali was complaining that in some of his strongholds, like Mlaleo, that is his claims that the election, the voting was delayed, people couldn't find their names on the register, and they did clash at Mlaleo with one of his rivals, the two front runners, that is Mohammed Ali and Said Abdalla Salim. Let's listen into that.
Do you have the register? I have some register. Because what order? No, we were here from 8 o'clock in the morning. There was no register. Where's the register? But to get register. Can we do this? If you're not an official, not an agent, can you get out, please? We want some orders here. If an agent, just can you get out? Can you just keep moving? Moving. I want to order now. Kindly, can you get out? Angalia vitu picha hizi. Hii hata binadamu wanaweza angalia hivi. Kuna pressure sana. Angalia hizi vitu.
We don't have our register. My name is not here. These people cannot vote. Where is ours? You keep on telling us that we receive it. Boss. Ile register unasema sasa kwa watu wanataka kupiga kura hizi sisi watu wanataka kupiga kura, lakini yule ambaye anakumbusha register yake yani jina yake itapatikana hapa ama hapa.
Let me tell you something. Look at this. This thing, it has just been written in Mlaleo primary, but these names are not in Mlaleo. Now, exactly, you don't know. You understand? You are very right. But what took place here is not fair. ODM, if they want people to vote fairly, and they want this political party to have mileage in this country, they have to be very, very fair. We had meetings there with all leaders telling us that this election will be very free and fair. It is very, very pathetic. It's only one person who has voted. You see, these are names. Saido. Let me come Saido. Sawa, mimi ni Shambi, hapa Mlaleo ni kwetu. Wewe utafuta ubunge wa Nyali, wewe utafuta ubunge wa Nyali. Haya majina yako hapa, si ya wapi? Ya Mlaleo. Sawa? Mimi kama Shambi, hapa Mlaleo ni kwetu. Sawa? Mimi kura yangu ni ya hapa kwenye register. Sipo. So jina lako hakuna? Hakuna. Wacha mimi sasa. Mimi nisipige. Mimi no problem. 80% ya watu wangu wa hapa majina yao hayapo.
Which election person? The election is being run by your brother bana.
Lazima sasa your brother is running this thing. Looking for this leadership.
Stop lying to us. Your brother is running this thing. So usidanganye bana. Wacha mwenyewe. Pressure gani huyu kutoka asubuhi?
Hapa boss. Hapa hakuna
kutoka asubuhi huyu yuko hapa.
Saido kura hazipigwi. Maana yake mimi hapa
election gani?
Shanifahamu Saido.
Mwite Joe atuambie kama ni wewe umeshinda.
Watu wa election wamekuwa hapa Saido tangu asubuhi.
Wamekuwa hapa. Let us listen from this person.
Audience is not fair. We are not accepting some players of child. Hatutaki hawa audience. We want justice.
Hakuna kura hapa kijiji tena. Samaliza hiyo. Mimi naongea na huyu hapa. Sijui kwa nini wewe usimuelewe jamaa. Sina shida na wewe. Acha mimi nisikie. Let me talk.
Well, those were the scenes early on in Nyali constituency as aspirants involve themselves or engage themselves in an altercation. And as our senior or political editor, Ben Kitili, reports, there are no results so far whatsoever in Mombasa County. Let's see whether the situation is different in Kilifi County. And our reporter, Francis Ontomwa, now joins us by way of phone for updates. Good evening, Francis. Thank you for joining us. What can you report as of now with concerns on the tallying of votes?
Well, Akisa, it has been equally an action-packed day here in Kilifi County, and particularly the metropolitan constituency of Malindi that has been top of focus here in the county. And as we speak right now, we are at the tallying center at Barani Secondary School, and not much activity is actually going on. We are yet to see results actually yet to trickle at this tallying center. And what we understand is that there are some polling stations actually that as late as 8:30 p.m. headed to 9 p.m., they were still queuing up to vote. That can actually tell you of how the process has been. There was a massive delay in the morning. The process began a bit late into the day, and this might have occasion why we are actually having this process prolonging to this particular time of the day. Well, the big contest has been that parliamentary, ODM parliamentary contest that has the Ian Malindi, that has the incumbent William Baraka Mtengo, and also Aisha Jumwa, the woman representative, of course, squaring it out for the ODM ticket. And it has been quite indeed somewhat a seesaw affair, because the supporters of both candidates have been coming in huge numbers to try and push their candidates through. And it has been the same that has been replicated in many other polling stations across the county. Well, largely in the morning, some controversies broke up, and it had everything to do with the mode of voting that was to be adopted at different polling stations. There were those who were the two camps were actually preferring different modes of voting. There were those who were proposing the use of IEBC register and also the party listing. This created a bit of controversies in the morning, but we saw the process pulling through, and actually it was applied differently at different polling stations. And right now, what we are witnessing are people still moving around at the tallying center, of course, waiting to hear word on what will be the outcome of this particular contest. There has been the other contest of members of county assemblies and also the women representative seat. But as we've been reporting, the focus has largely been the Mutengol Aisha Jumwa affair, that many are actually crossing their fingers to know which way this will be taking. Looking at the scheme of things right now, this could be prolonging deep into the night. And maybe in the late in the night or early in the morning, we could be learning the final results here in Kilifi County.
Francis, I believe you will be